Hello, I'm Terry Riley, and welcome to another episode of Realms of Wicca. You know, I've been feeling really nostalgic here lately. We've been running the church here in Jonesboro, Arkansas for 26 years, and I was going through some of the stuff that we have. Back in 1993, what started the Southern Delta Church of Wicca, and what prompted us to start the church was I had an occult shop in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and it created quite a stir. We got protests, Christian churches turning against us. I organized a counter-protest march, the Freedom of Religion March in 1993, down through the main streets of Jonesboro, Arkansas, and we got quite a bit of media coverage over it because it was the very first time that witchcraft had become public in the Bible Belt. And we had a lot of media coverage. We got covered in TV shows like we've covered on CNN. We did the TV show Inside Edition. We was on the Jane Whitney show promoting they were trying to force us to shut down our cult shop, revoked our lease on it and everything, and that aggravated me. So I went to the local newspaper and asked them if they'd be interested in doing a story on a witch getting evicted out of his occult shop. And they went, "What? A witch? You're a witch?" And I went, "Yeah." And they snatched me in there and started taking pictures and done the story, and we made the front page of the Jonesboro Sun on the Sunday edition. And right after that article came out, media coverage started coming in from everywhere, and as a matter of fact, you can look at some of the stuff I was going through here, some of the stuff that we saved in our scrapbook here on some of the media coverage we got at that time. Now, this one right here is the front page of the Jonesboro Sun the day after the march, which is March protested. We had counter-protesters. The Christians came out in numbers. They had a giant wooden cross blocking the highway, and there was over 80 police officers that came out to protect us and pierced through the Christian counter-protesters up that day. We also made the Arkansas Democrat in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we made USA Today. A lot of press came out of that. We also had support at that time from Llewellyn's New Worlds. This is the article that they wrote up about us, asking for donations and support in our march. This was the Lady Liberty League, Selena Fox at Circle Sanctuary. They posted and wrote up an article about it and got a lot of support from us. This here is the front page of the Commercial Appeal in August 2nd, 1993, and we made the front page, "Pagans and Foes Awaken Streets of Jonesboro." And it was kind of a scary time at that time. I mean, we had the counter-protesters out there, but now we also made Newsweek, "Do You Believe in Magic?" If you notice the caption down here, "Witching Hour, Fort God versus Born Again Pagans." The reporter, when he was asking us, came down to Jonesboro to do this story. I had told him that at that time in 1993, Jonesboro, within its city limits, had 75 Christian churches. And I said the people in this area for years, because of the strong conservative Christian influence they had in Jonesboro, over in Memphis, Tennessee, and at Boot Hill, Missouri, everyone around in this area referred to Jonesboro, Arkansas as Fort God. So Fort God got put in the Newsweek. It just so happened that I came across some other archives, some footage that I'm going to talk to you about, that we're going to be looking at here in this episode of Realms of Wicca. Like I said, I'm feeling nostalgic, and I was going through this stuff. And I also happened to run across some footage that we found in the church archive. And it's some actual footage of a program that was made in 2003. And it tells the story of the March on Fort God in Jonesboro, Arkansas. So I thought that you would enjoy watching some actual footage of the march and the program that we made in 2003. It was the 10-year anniversary of the march. And just to warn you, you're going to see some footage of me when I was younger and had dark hair. And then you're going to see some footage of me in 2003 and stuff. But I think this is great that we're putting this out here now. This will be the first time that this footage has been open to the public for free viewing. Okay, so it's part of the history of our church, and it's part of the history of Wicca, witchcraft, and paganism in our area of the neck of the woods, also known as the Bible Belt. The first time that paganism emerged publicly, the first time in the Bible Belt, and that was in Jonesboro, Arkansas in 1993. So I hope you enjoy the program you're about to see called March on Fort God, Paganism Emerges in the Bible Belt, 1993. Enjoy.
Rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Jesus.
All that do these things are an abomination to God. What do we want?
Civil rights.
Is going to continue to grow in this nation and in Jonesboro. We, as our newsletter says, are children of the serpent. That we demand religious freedom. And we want it now. What do you want?
Religious freedom.
When do you want it?
Now.
Who are you?
Children of the circle.
What do you want?
Religious freedom.
When do you want it?
Now.
Who are you?
Children of the circle.
What do you want?
Religious freedom.
When do you want it?
Now.
What do you want? Freedom! 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 Freedom!
Hello, we're the Rileys. I'm Terry,
I'm Amanda.
and we live in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I was basically raised a Baptist all my life. Mandy was raised a Pentecost. And after many years of study, I came across the Wicca religion. And it answered all the questions I had in my mind that other religions did not answer. It touched me down in here. Something in here spoke to me. We were both licensed and ordained, recognized by the state of Arkansas as a priest and priestess of the Wicca religion. About in March of 1993, we were practicing our religion. We were doing it mainly in secret, keeping quiet about it, not telling anybody what we were doing because of all the propaganda that's been put out for years about our religion, and people in the middle of the Bible Belt do not accept it. They believe what they've been told by the Christian community and the hammer of the witches back in the Middle Ages, and by what movies like Hollywood's been putting out for 50 or 60 years. There was a need in this area for an occult shop, a shop that dealt mainly with Wiccan religion, and we thought it'd be nice if we handled all the tools and all the supplies and some books on the subject. And back in, I think it was May of 1993, we decided to open up an occult shop in Jonesboro. On June 10th, we rented the shop. On June 21st, summer solstice, we opened the shop. And on June 23rd, 2 days after we opened, the landlord, we were renting on a month-to-month basis, came in with 2 local ministers, Christian ministers, and told us that we was going to have to close down. And during that process, we decided to fight back. We was not going to take this kind of treatment. To me, it was like it was prejudiced and bigoted ideas, and we knew that, and we decided it was time to come out in this area and tell people exactly what our religion was. So we made the decision to form a march, a Freedom of Religion March. Mandy and I are fighting a struggle now to show that the religious persecution of witches does take place. A lot of pagan religions do not want to come out because of fear. If it's ever going to change, it's going to be up to us to make that change.
Merry meet and blessed be. I am Terry Riley. I have been a practicing witch for the past 12 years. I am the licensed ordained archpriest of the Southern Delta Church of Wicca, ATC. I am also an initiated druid of the Order of the Elm. I have had my saging rite in Memphis, Tennessee on Beltane 2002. The story you're about to see is true. It is the actual events that occurred in Jonesboro, Arkansas in 1993. It was a time when paganism emerged into the middle of the Bible Belt. This had never happened before in modern history. What is the Bible Belt? It is a phrase coined by Henry Louis Mencken in 1926. It denotes any area of the United States where Christian dogma and doctrine control the beliefs and attitudes of the people. That is the power of the Christians in the Bible Belt. What happened with the march in 1993? A hole was punched right through the stronghold of Christendom. My wife and I opened an occult shop. We had always done our rites in secret. Now was the time to build the respectability of the religion if it was to continue to exist in the Bible Belt. But at this time, it was a scary thing to be a witch practicing in the middle of the Bible Belt. When my 7-year-old daughter came to me after one night she was in a ritual with us and said, "Daddy, I can't wait to go to school tomorrow and tell everybody what we done." I looked at her and I said, "Honey, you don't need to be going out and telling everybody what we do here at the house and what we do in our rituals," because I was afraid that people would find out. And she looked up at me with those 7-year-old innocent eyes and said, "Why, Daddy? Is what we're doing wrong?" This changed me. This changed my concept. I said, "No, what we're doing is not wrong, sweetheart, and it's not right for us to have to keep in secret and hiding. You should have the ability to speak about what you do freely about our religion." So that was a major decision as to why we went public with our religion and why we opened up an occult shop. Years ago, I came across the religion of Wicca. It was a faith that was already established, and its philosophies already fit my belief systems. When I read my first book, I was shocked, because I realized I had been a witch for 15 years. I just didn't know it. The belief system had already been set down, but Wicca or witchcraft was not allowed to be practiced in our area because it was an evil thing according to Christian doctrine. So I began secretly studying Wicca, also known as witchcraft, and at the time, it felt right to me.
When you witness your first ritual live for the first time, whether you're in it or not, the first time you witness it and you feel the power coming off that circle, something beats heavily inside your chest, way down deep in the dark recesses of your own being. It's a feeling of like, you know, this is the right way, this is the path for me. That's the way most people come to paganism. It was a nature-based religion full of ancient laws, ancient ways, ancient rituals, to put one in tune and harmony with the earth itself and the cosmos, with the energies that exist. We worship the creation because to us the creation is the creator. Everything is alive, everything has a spirit. We are not separated from deity. It is inside of us and around us. It is the creation that exists throughout this realm and the cosmos. It is one with us and we are one with it. To acquire the tools and necessary implements we needed for our religion and for our rituals, we either had to get them through mail order or we had to make them ourselves. And if you are not very skilled in the crafts, it's very difficult to make your own tools. So you had to mail order them if you could find them. Then you run the risk of not having the tools there or the implements necessary when you needed to create ritual. We decided at that time that this area needs an occult shop. Something to where we could offer the other pagans and witches and Wiccans in the area the implements, the ritual items for our faith and our religion. And we went to a landlord and we found a building, told the landlord what we were going to do. So we opened the Magic Moon in Jonesboro, Arkansas on summer solstice, 1993. 2 days later, the landlord's son, along with 2 Christian ministers, came in and told us we had to shut the shop down, that they were going to do other things with the building, that they might even tear the building down, and the sooner we got out, the better they would like it. At the time the landlord's son was talking to me, I noticed the 2 Christian ministers were looking around the shop. I did not know they were ministers at the time. I thought they were business associates of the landlord. When they left the shop and walked around the corner to get in their vehicles, I followed them. When they shook hands, the 2 ministers got into a Church of the Nazarene bus. I knew right then that the landlord was being pressured by the Christian community to shut me down, put me out of business. I refused. A few days later, 6 Christian ministers got on our local TV station, denounced me by name, the practice of witchcraft, and said we posed a threat to local children in the community. I knew right then that we had to fight back. We had a case of religious persecution and bigotry to the highest degree. We needed to get the media involved. So we decided to organize a Freedom of Religion March. We contacted pagans and Wiccans in our tri-state area to join with us in this endeavor.
And harmony for all the nations. Peace and harmony for all the tribes. Peace and harmony for all the children. Peace and harmony for all the earth. We are the earth. Huh! Food enough to eat for all the nations. Food enough to eat for all the tribes. Food enough to eat for all the children. Food enough to eat for all the earth. We are the earth. Huh! Peace and harmony for all the nations. Peace and harmony for all the tribes. Peace and harmony for all the children. Peace and harmony for all the earth. We are the earth. Huh!
We had a lot of support in the pagan community, but this wasn't publicized that we had a lot of support from the non-pagan community. We had Christians and Vietnam vets march with us in 1993. The pagans and Wiccans in Memphis, which have now formed the Summerland Grove Pagan Church, came in support of our march. Covens from Fayetteville, Arkansas and Missouri, solitary practitioners from our tri-state area, came and stood with us on our constitutional rights of freedom of religion. Support came from the march all across the United States, from such people as Selena Fox, from Circle Sanctuary in Mount Hoheb, Wisconsin, from Reverend Pete Pathfinder, the archpriest of the Aquarian Tabernacle Church in Index, Washington, from Oberon Zale, the founder of Church of All Worlds in California. They sent letters of support, they sent donations, they helped in every way that they could to support this march. During this time, as we were gaining support from the pagan community, the local Christians decided to bring in Ben Alexander, a supposed occult expert in an attempt to discredit Wicca, witchcraft, and denounce Satanism, in an attempt to promote fear among the community.
Father, we are thankful tonight for the opportunity to be here, be attentive to what we will hear and what we will see, and our minds and our hearts to be open so that we can be warned of the occult, and that we'll realize that this is real and that Satan does come as an angel of light. Amen. Brothers and sisters, Brother Ben Alexander.
I do want to greet each and every one of you. Those of you who are Christians, I want to greet you in the name of Jesus. Those of you who are not Christians, I pray you will become one. I'm sure, though, that many of you may want to purchase the book out there that does help in the mission. I know that some of you are from the Wicca group here. I know that. And this is a free country, which makes it a great country. And you may disagree with me, but I have only one purpose in my life, in the many, many years that I have lived. I've always looked for the truth. And as far as I'm concerned, there is only one book that has the truth, and that is the Word of God. And what I'm trying to do in these messages is to show you the reality of the spirit world. Because, friends, there is a spirit world. I have had 44 years of experience concerning the spirit world. Witchcraft is real. It is very real. I hope tonight that some of you who may have questions, and even if you disagree with me, please ask the question. Some people go out and they say this is a bunch of hogwash and it's lies and I don't believe it, and they go out. If I'm telling a lie, I want someone to come up to me as this thing walked towards me and spoke and said that I would bring power to this circle. And then gradually it began to go down, 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 and like an umbilical cord back into the medium. Twice that I know of, and I remember once that I was there, that this ectoplasm turned to blood, and Jeff nearly died from it. Here's the ectoplasm coming out of the nose. Somehow they form a voice box. I cannot describe and tell you how this works. I have no idea. We are talking about the supernatural. Ectoplasm coming out of his ears. Here it is coming out of his mouth. And these are the grippers that grip objects. Here it is gripping a tambourine. This is poltergeist phenomena, but in this case you can actually see the energy force, which is the ectoplasm. You can see the ectoplasm coming out of his mouth. And there is those trumpets. You can see the trumpet there. And then there is ectoplasm coming out of the solar plexus. And there's another trumpet on the left. And if you were sitting there, you would hear two distinct voices. I had, at times when I was asked, had actually pulled it out of his mouth. I remember once we had an accident, and that ectoplasm flew back at tremendous speed, and you can see 6 inches, like a saucer, perfectly round, as he was screaming, laying on the floor, and you can see the blood was beginning to hemorrhage, trying to get through to his skin. It wasn't that it came out like this, as the power began to disintegrate. This was Jeff's brother in this particular case. I wouldn't even show you the worst pictures. You wouldn't believe it anyway. Satan was really showing his true colors. Spirit mediums, sometimes they're known as a witch, or, that's for a woman, or a warlock if it's a male. Now that is in spiritualism. Exposing Satan's Power Ministries is a ministry which is dedicated to fighting occults and occultism, and we're very involved in fighting fortune and pornography in particular. Our school is holding witchcraft classes in our English elective studies. Jeannie Dixon is holding a fortune telling meeting to raise funds for an organ, and that was for a Christian church. The Church of Satan has a contract out to kill me. They are offering $5,000 to anyone to murder me. My church is now holding yoga classes. Yoga is basically a Far Eastern and Hindu-Indian system of philosophy and psychology. It opens up your psychic abilities. There are people that get involved in yoga and they become psychic and they're very sorry afterwards. The Ouija board told my friend he would die when he's 21, he's 19 now. We spent the whole evening discussing this. My friend was stabbed in the back of a hypodermic needle at a witchcraft club. Moreover, if you buy the Jonesboro local paper here, you'll see a write-up on about this particular issue. Here is the bottom line, friends. Look at it. First Chronicles 10:13, King Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord, he did not keep the word of the Lord, and even consulted a medium for guidance and did not inquire of the Lord. This is plain enough. God said it's a death penalty for getting involved.
In an effort to disseminate proper information about the Wiccan religion to the general public, we contacted and brought in Kerr Cahulan, a Vancouver police officer who is an occult expert recognized by most authorities. He is also a Wiccan high priest. He currently has 3 books out on the market: Law Enforcement Guide to Wicca, Wiccan Warrior, and Full Contact Magic. He gave a seminar on urban legends and about the myths of Satanism to the general public in Jonesboro and the Jonesboro Police Department.
It's very nice to be here today, and I haven't come here to tell you that there's no such thing as a Satanist, because there is. And I haven't come here to start any more rumors than I absolutely have to. In fact, what I've come here to do tonight is talk to you about urban legends and rumors, and the kind of effects that they have and have had on the public. And I'm here to talk about how countless hours of law enforcement time have been wasted by inaccurate information. I'm going to show you some of the kind of things I'm talking about how people's lives have been affected, and the kind of people that are doing it, and how they do it. I know certain people in the Wiccan community are having problems with certain individuals. Well, the same individuals generally target Catholics, Jews, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, the list goes on and on. Because what you're dealing with is people that say, my way is the one and only way. Everyone else is cult, occult, satanic, false religion, whatever. Okay? And this is one of the major bases. Some of the best information I've got on people that do this kind of stuff is from the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith, because they're having problems with the same people. There's lots of them. This is Tex Mars. I mean, he's lecturing the law enforcement people too, but in this book here, The Mystery Mark of the New Age, he claims that any day now, Satan's going to put a barcode on our foreheads, so he'll know who we are. You know, but he doesn't tell the people he lectures to that, because he knows they're probably not going to have the patience to listen to it. A number of people who have taken information, in some cases they're very sincere people, but they've taken information, it's not accurate, they haven't bothered to check it out, they've taken the word of somebody that's presenting himself as an expert, and basically is a modern-day snake oil salesman, and they've gone out, and they've wasted their time. They may get themselves into an investigation that leads nowhere. They end up ruining people's lives in the process. And, you know, they write manuals like this. And most of the information is highly inaccurate. This is Dale Griffiths. He was just at the trial recently. And, you know, I've looked at the source material that he uses. And I've looked at his manuals. I have them all. And there's all kinds of inaccuracies in these things. So, you know, what do we do about these people? I mean, here you've got this gentleman here, Mr. Mitchell. He's a chaplain. He has no investigative experience at all. And while he's a member of this department, he has an honorary rank of lieutenant. And he writes this. You know, how can he do that? Has he done any research? You look at the thing, obviously, you know, the information in it is very inaccurate. There's all kinds of examples. This is Randy Emons, who for a while ran the Christian Occult Investigators Network, and this is some of his stuff here. About a year ago, he went public in the press and said, I don't believe this stuff anymore. And I respect him for that. It's difficult to do. Like, he put his neck out and he said for many years, I think this stuff is out there, and any minute now I'm going to find it. And finally he said, look, I've been had. Because there's just no evidence of it out there. This is a manual by a civilian, Mary Ann Harrell. And in this thing, she's got a list of things that investigators, if they find them in a crime scene, it would indicate that the person is a Satanist. And the list includes thumbtacks, scarves, candles. See some people in the back starting to sweat here. I mean, everybody's got these things in their house. And taken in context, it might mean something. But taken alone, I mean, what does it mean? There's a lot of misunderstandings too. I had Canada Customs call me the other day, and they said, we got a person that's applied for landed immigrant status, and his neighbors phoned and said, he's out in the backyard doing some weird ritual, and he says it's Satanism. Well, you get a hold of the guy and say, describe what you saw. It's a Native Indian sweat lodge.
The local news agency wanted to do a segment on what is Wicca. They contacted Dr. Robin Anderson, Associate Professor of History at Arkansas State University. What she had to say, I do not believe, is what the agency or most Christians expected her to say.
I believe Wicca is a religion. It's a very ancient religion. It's a religion that predates Christianity by a great deal of time. It has its own religious system, its own belief system, its own hierarchy within its system. It has its own material things that go with it, the altar and the candles and so forth. But yes, it's very definitely a religious system. It's not a bunch of crazy people running around pretending to be witches. Christianity has the image of witches as being in the service of Satan. And these people are not in the service of Satan. They don't even believe in Satan. They see Satan as a Christian concept. They're much more into kind of a dualistic faith of Mother Earth and Father Sky, and very much concerned with the worship of nature as creation by the gods. And so they don't see the workings of Satan. So they just don't fit into that mold at all. I think the fear of the unknown is what's sparking a lot of the reaction. If moderate Christians could simply allow the Wiccans to practice their faith, the Wiccans, in my experience, will be open if they're given the opportunity. They will explain what they believe and what they don't believe, but they won't try to drag you in. They don't do the kind of cultic activity that, for example, you see with Hare Krishna and people like that. They're not out there actively proselytizing. And in fact, they're very cautious because they want to make sure that people understand and really believe before they become members of a Wiccan group. And it is, again, to restate, it is a religious belief system. It's not just hocus pocus. It's not Hollywood. It's a concrete, established, very established religious group of ideas that have been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Their whole worship service, yes, it involves an altar, yes, it involves candles, yes, it involves symbols, but they're different. They're different. Your pentagram, your five-pointed star in Wicca is going to be pointed upwards. It's pointed towards Father Sky. And there will not generally be any kind of other graffiti within the pentagram. Your satanic pentagram is pointed down. It's pointed towards the nether regions. And it's also very often portrayed as the head of a goat. And you can tell, I mean, that's an easy way to tell a site immediately by the direction in which the pentagram is pointing. The reason we see the Wiccans as doing it evilly is because we're trying to classify them as satanic when they're not. And the satanic belief is to take the ritual chalice, to take the altar, to take the robes and the candles and all of that and pervert it, to make it the opposite of the Christian belief, to make black what was white, so to speak. Now, the Wiccans are coming from a different direction altogether. Yes, they use the same instruments, but if you look back at the ancient religions, they use the same instruments too. So I think the use of candles, the use of robes is something Well, you'll find it in Buddhism, you'll find it in Hinduism, you'll find it in most of the major religions. These are very common to the human need for some ritual involved in their religion. My goodness, I mean, if you go to a wedding in a fundamentalist church, there will still be candles. It goes back to a deeper theological base that the supernatural power is both male and female. And for some people, they can accept the concept of the Christian God as both male and female. Other people are not comfortable with that. They have to see the Christian God as purely male, and then focus on the Virgin Mary as the female component. But that's not that different from Wiccans saying Mother Earth and Father Sky. It's the male and female aspects of creation. And I'm comfortable with whatever vocabulary they want to use. To say that it's blasphemy is coming again from the Christian viewpoint and maintaining that anything that is not Christian is blasphemous and satanic and all of that. And that's simply wrong. I have yet to meet a Wiccan that really attacks Christianity. They have their belief system. They're not Christian. They're pagan. And a lot of Christians don't see that, don't understand the difference between it. If it isn't Christian, it must be satanic, and that's simply not true. Wiccans are not out to harm anybody. And the only harm, quite frankly, that worries me about being allowed to practice openly is harm to the Wiccans. It's a religion that wants to be allowed to have its belief system and not be under constant attack by everybody else.
At that time, a group of Christians organized a counter-protest to the Witches' March. They were not going to let us pass.
Stand up for
today. And this is it. After we play this song, we will turn around and march back down Main Street. Blessed be and merry meet.
Remember always, legal rights are most often only secured by those who are willing to stand up and demand them. We must demand what is rightfully due, no more, no less. If we continue to be secretive and act as though we are ashamed of our beliefs, we will only serve to reinforce the lies and accusations of our detractors used to discredit our gods and subjugate the Wicca. Since the burning times, we have celebrated our sacred rites and mysteries in secret. But the burning times are now long past, yet not forgotten. In the enlightened democracies of the world of the 20th century, such as our own United States of America, freedom of belief is guaranteed by governmental charter. Those governments are no longer our persecutors, but our defenders. Occasionally, because it is made up of individuals, the government may not always be a willing defender, but it is compelled to be our defender nonetheless.
Accomplished to the point where people understand now that we are not evil people. We're not people who go around harming anybody. We just have a different concept of deity. And we can live in harmony along with everybody else in this world if they just quit saying that they have the only way and the only path. We don't have the only way. We don't have the only path.
I am walking with you, sister.
The march was a success. There was no violence, and our story was carried in Newsweek, the front page of the London Times, Associated Press, Japan and 29 foreign countries, CNN, just about every known newspaper across the United States picked up the story, including USA Today. This was a big story. The first time witches in the Bible Belt had came out publicly and proclaimed their faith.
There was a few hecklers, which I expected that, but everybody has the right to speak their own mind, same as we do. I'm just pleased that nobody got hurt. It's not over with yet. Obviously, a lot of people still don't want to open their minds and let us have the religious freedom we want to have, claiming for.
You pleased with the turnout?
Yeah, we're pleased with it.
Did you have any words with Mr. Branch when you walked by him? Describe to me what happened when you walked by him.
I was staring straight ahead, and I really didn't notice where he was at or anything. I feel like the man had to make a statement for what he felt in, but I still feel like that he doesn't understand that our religion is not what in any way, shape, or form connected with what happened over in Westminster. Oh yeah, we made a great stride today, not only for my cause as a magic but for pagans around the world. We got support from Selena Fox, Virgin Sanctuary, Reverend Pete Pathfinder, and Bill Washington, Square Tabernacle Church, local organizations. Hammer was here from St. Louis, Southern Council was here from Memphis, and Unitarians were here from Little Rock. So yeah, we had a lot of support.
アーカンソー州2万8000人余りの人口に対して教会が50もあります。ところがこの5月に起きた子供したこれに反発して先週の日曜日には魔術師を自称するおよそ100人が集会を開いて信教のした主催者の言い分です。
The Christians in this community around here have been running this town for the past 50 or 60 years.
自由というのはとっても大切な権利だということはよくわかるんですけれども、ただその異端の宗教
More hatred was directed from the Christians, of course. A lot of heckling up there. I look at it this way: if I don't like it, I don't have to listen to it. If I don't believe it, I don't have to practice it. And I'm against, I think Christians, or a lot of Christians, are hypocritical. Power corrupts. Those churches uptown, most of the people, almost nearly all the people who have power in this town, go to those churches.
Jesus loves you. He died to save you from your sins. Wonderful. Turn to the Lord with all of your heart, and He will abundantly pardon you. Jesus is turning sin. Get right with.
They had every right to march. Of course, I come from a background of social protest, being at Berkeley, but they should have the same freedom to practice their religion that anybody has. And I'm a little concerned when I hear people say, yes, I believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, but I think they had a right to. Of course, a lot of people took exception because they did it on Sunday. What they don't realize is they did it on Lammas, and that to them is a major feast day, and that sort of got ignored in the process. But these people are not dangerous. They're not going to hurt anybody. They should be as free to practice their religion in their own homes as any Christian or Buddhist or anybody else.
They no longer call us Satanists in Jonesboro, not openly. They call us Wiccans. Do they still want us out? Yes, they do. Do they still want us to stop what we're doing and promoting the faith? Yes, they do. But they will not attack us publicly any longer. They do it behind closed doors. Since 1994, we have established great strides in building unity among the pagan community in our area. We are compelled by our ordains to make the Wiccan religion more public. Although we do not proselytize or actively seek converts, we do want to make the Wiccan religion more accessible to the true seeker. Ultimately, paganism will continue to grow in Jonesboro and around the world. We hope someday to be on equal ground with Christianity and all the other faiths of the world, where there will be peace and harmony. Because after all, this is the change of an era. We are children of the circle. We will stand. We will continue to proclaim our faith equally and be proud to be pagan, proud to be Wiccan.
I'm Constable Charles Ennis. I'm a member of the Vancouver Police Department in British Columbia, Canada, and I've been a police officer for 17 years. I'm also Cair Cahalan, which is a name that I chose through a Celtic tradition, which is part of the religion that I practice, which is Wicca, and I've practiced that for 26 years. I'm public about my beliefs, and where I come from, it doesn't cause me any grief. I wear this just like this. I've worn this t-shirt right here on surveillance. I've got a sign on my desk that says Born Again Pagan. I had to be prepared for people to scrutinize me very closely. Everything I did, the way I do police work, what I do in my private life, because, they've got all these people telling them all of these lies about what witches are. Ultimately, there's enough of these people out there who see that you are doing, perfectly benign stuff. that eventually it all works to your advantage. I didn't realize that the city legal department had gone out and studied Wiccan religion, because ultimately it had gotten back to them. It was about the time that I first became, fully openly public doing stuff. And they got a hold of me about 6 months later and presented a study that was about the size of a Metro Vancouver phone book, which is about 3 inches thick. They said, well, we did this study, we didn't tell you about it, but the bottom line is your religion is benign, and because you follow it, you're one of the better officers that we got. Well, you got to be happy with that. But they could have said the same thing about, a Sikh officer or a Jewish officer. You could have done the same thing. It's not as likely they're going to do it with one of those religious traditions, because there's more knowledge that's readily available about it. And then there's less inflammatory things said about it. But here in Jonesboro, we have a different situation. We have a lot of people who seem to be concerned about religious groups that are different from what they consider the mainstream, that being various denominations of Judeo-Christian beliefs. And I'm rather concerned about how the situation has been blown up into a very tense situation. A lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and people fall back on whatever is available to the public and the popular press, and a lot of the literature that is available, the sort of movies that are out there, tend to take this inquisitional idea that the Wiccan is a Satanist, which is not correct. If you've gotten to the stage where you've got to do some sort of public protest or march, and things are that tense, I can't emphasize enough that the absolute worst thing that you can do is respond to any kind of violence or verbal abuse that your detractors may throw at you. Because if you do, you bring yourself down to their level. And when you think about it, when you look at the video of a successful march, you invariably see that the protesters, if they're peaceful, appear to be the reasonable people, and the other side really looks very, very bad. So whenever you're in the public, you're representing everybody in the crowd. You are a spokesperson for us all. And it harm none, do as thou wilt. You've gotta remember that what you do affects everybody else. It's a very, very serious responsibility. People like Ben Alexander, I didn't specifically name him at the talk, but I mean, he is a perfect example of a person who considers himself an expert on Satanism because he can quote verses from the Bible, which means absolutely nothing. I could do that. And lots of people that can do that. But take a look at what he's done and what he's actually read. I mean, you run into people all the time that say, I'm an expert, but they've never picked up anything written by anybody who is really a Satanist. They've never seen a satanic ceremony. They've never seen any religious ceremony by any group outside of their own. And these people like Alexander tend to label everything they don't understand, everything outside of their own small denomination, as satanic, occult, occultic. There's a whole lot of different terms they use. And it's just hysterical nonsense. And it's just trying to create this specter of a international satanic conspiracy out there to scare people into the church to get that revenue. They'll take little bits and pieces, little facts, and they use these to create the impression that everything they're saying is true. Like, I can prove these few little things, and I'm going to make a big deal that I can prove these things. I've got a few pictures here. I've got one book. I've got this anecdote that I'm going to tell you, but I'm not going to give you times, dates, or places. And it sounds really good until you start trying to take the thing apart and say, well, all right, I'm not going to accept the fact that everything you said is true. I'm going to take everything apart and check it out. And that's when all this stuff starts to come out. But it's a difficult situation because you're dealing with people that really want to believe this stuff. And in some cases, they've made up their minds, and there's nothing that you or I or anyone else can say that's going to change their mind. But if you do start putting that information out there, if you do start asking questions, some people out there are listening. You can't generalize about any church and say they're all a problem, because they're not. There's all kinds of individuals in there, and some of them are going to hear it, and they're going to start questioning it, and they're going to start discussing it, and that's going to let them examine enough that they're going to start calling into question their beliefs. And I mean, really what we're talking about here is faith. And if a person really is strong as a Christian, I usually don't have a problem with them because they're quite comfortable with someone being different. It doesn't threaten them. The ones that are grandstanding and making all the noise are the ones that have to keep doing this to convince themselves that I'm doing the right thing. Because really deep down inside, they're not that confident about it. They're not really sure. And the only way they can create the illusion that they are is by constantly witnessing, making a big public show of it. A lot of these people are sincere. I can give you examples of people who really think that they're doing the right thing, but I mean, they've just got the wrong idea. They're crusaders, you know, and they've got this cause and away they go. There's a lot of them out there who are in it for the prestige, the attention, the money. And I'm not sure whether I can definitely classify Alexander and say he's definitely in it just for money or he's just in it for this. It's a combination of different things. But I mean, I'm sure that he knows that there's facts out there that can easily disprove what he's saying. And he's going ahead and doing the program anyway. And when a person does that, you got to say to yourself, you know, how sincere is this person? I can think of really good examples of people out there that I know are saying, I'm Christian and I'm selling this program, and there's absolutely no way this guy believes anything he's saying, but he knows if he says this to the right people, he's going to get his money and he's going to make a business out of it. I mean, they're out there. And there's an agenda, and it could be money, it could be power, it could be trying to bring new people into the church, prevent people from leaving because they're afraid to leave, because there's this danger out there that's mysterious and hard to define. These are all possible reasons why somebody would do something like this. And unfortunately, other people in other areas, social work, law enforcement, they want to be experts. They often use these people as a resource in the myths they passed on. And rather than going to original source material and say, I want to know about a Wiccan, I'll go to talk to some. I want to know about Satanists, I'll go read some of their stuff. I'll go to a ritual. They'll say, I'll take this guy's word for it because he says he's an expert and he's saying things that I think I'd like to believe. What it all boils down to is if you have a religious group that's set itself up that it needs a building, and now we've taken on financial responsibilities that we have to meet. Now we're in a rat race where we have to have enough people in there. We have to have them contributing money. We've got to try and keep them from leaving because we've got to rely on a certain amount of income coming in, and it just goes on and on. Suddenly you've created not a religion but a business. It's an institution. And in Wicca, we don't have any overhead. You know, the earth is our temple. Wherever we're standing is a sacred space. We don't need to support an institution. We don't need people who are full-time paid clergy, because every single last one of us, if we want the word of goddess or God, we just go talk to her or him. You don't have religion dispensed to us. You can't hide. It's the worst possible thing you can do. You can't do that anymore. There's all this business about the burning times and we have to keep stuff secret. There's absolutely no reason to keep stuff secret anymore. That's the problem. If you are doing stuff behind closed doors, it creates the impression that you're doing something surreptitious. There's something there that you don't want people to see. And there is nothing within the Wiccan practice that's illegal, and there's nothing there that you should be ashamed of people seeing. And, you know, do it. I mean, and when you do that, it's much more difficult for people to deal with you. If they can say they're doing stuff behind closed doors, people are going to draw all kinds of conclusions. But if you're doing it right there in their face, they can't do that. It's very difficult for them to deal with it. And you got to be public, you know. And if it's got to the stage where it has here, you do the march. Get out there and say, here we are, and I'm not afraid to be in front of you because I've got nothing to be afraid of. It's our responsibility. It's our duty. It's a warrior tradition with the Celtic tribal culture that's the basis of our religion, to put our foot down and say enough. Nothing in our religion that says turn the other cheek. It doesn't say stand there and take it. It says you don't do it to anyone else, but it doesn't say you have to stand there and take it.
people buy tickets to heaven with the money that they give. To the preacher on Sunday morning, and they live like they want to live. They got plans for sweet salvation, some shortcuts you can use. But if you really want to make it to heaven, friend, I'm telling you, you take a ride at the light and you do what's right and you try to understand. You don't want to make it to heaven, you need to talk to a pagan man. Cause the road that he's been walking on is rocky and long. Sometimes he thinks he ever make it home. If you plan to make it to heaven, you better stop and understand. There's a whole new highway out there, it's paved by pagan man. Well, they call him evil, they say that he's insane. They say he's talking with the devil, but it's all just a game. They want to take away his house and land and run him out of town. But if you ever want to get to heaven, you gotta step to higher ground. You take a ride at the light and you do what's right and you try to understand. If you ever want to make it to heaven, you better talk to a pagan man. Take a ride at the light and you do what's right and you try to understand. If you really want to make it to heaven, you better talk to a pagan man. You better talk to a pagan man. Talk to a pagan man. If you really want to make it to heaven, you better talk to a pagan man.
Hear me, old ones. Great gods of old, we call upon thee. We call upon you, great goddess Diana, mother of manifestation, mother of earth, our great mother of all fertility. We have need of magic tonight. We are the children of Wicca. No more do we walk in the shadows of doubt or trod in the shadows. We shall walk tall among all men. The magic we call upon tonight shall be worked in another city, in another town across this great land.
Blessed be.
Well, I hope you enjoyed watching the history of how the Southern Dutch Church of Wicca was formulated back in 1993 and some of the things that we had to go through. Now, it's 2020. A lot of stuff has changed in this area. We have been promoting and educating people about what the religion of Wicca is through the Southern Dutch Church of Wicca. We've got more involved in our community. About 5 years ago, Home Depot accepted us as their local charity and started donating goods to us that we distributed to our community to help the elderly and the low income. They give us $5,000 a month. We've started a community garden now this year where we're feeding hungry people in our area, and we've had local news coverage from our local TV station about that. We've also been putting in a Christmas float in the annual Lake City Christmas Parade for the past 4 years. And this year, first year we won first place in Best Church Float, and this year we won third place in Best Church Float. So the times, they are changing. Things are growing. The religion of Wicca is eventually, there's going to be enough churches out there and enough people, public, promoting the faith for what it truly is instead of a lot of the misconceptions out there now. And eventually, my hope and dream is that Wicca will rise up to the same equality and respect as the other major faiths of the world. And that's what we're doing at Southern Dutch Church of Wicca. That's what my life's been about for the past 30 years. So I hope you enjoyed what you've seen today. If you like what we're doing here on the Southern Dutch Church of Wicca YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, okay? Hit that notification bell. We're going to put out other videos, that way you'll know when we got something coming out. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Realms of Wicca. So until next time, this is Terry Riley from Realms of Wicca.